So hello guys, it's Bank Holiday Monday here in the UK, so no work for anyone. And I finished House of Chains. That's some ending, isn't it? I have got my notes in front of me, so I will go through them. I think I just kind of want to talk a little bit about the obvious occurrence that happens in this final chapter, which surprisingly didn't make me cry at the time. It made me cry relaying it back to my daughter, because she's got invested in these characters just as much as I have. But the whole coming about of Felisin going back to being Felisin, the Shattuck, she's no longer the goddess. The goddess leaves her, and she stood on the battlefield where this battle has just happened, and Tavore approaches, so Shattuck, Felisin, has no choice but to go down. But when she gets there, she can't lift her arm with the sword, so she can't fight. And Tavore is more than prepared, not even knowing who this is, to kill. And she does kill. But the fact that she kills her sister, I still think we're going on from Memories of Ice with the whole family thing. I still think there's elements of family and love in this book. Yeah, that was really quite a scene. So Tavore stabs Shattuck, aka Felisin, and then not just to stab her, but the way she, once Shattuck has dropped, she stands on her chest in kind of a glorified manner. All I could think of was when and if you find out who you have literally just hurt, you are going to be a ruined woman. That is going to ruin you. And the two people who know, who could tell her this, which is Pearl and Lestora, turn up right at the wrong time. They come through the Warren right at the wrong time, just after it's already happened. So they don't even get the chance to be able to say, that's your sister. And then the way that they talk about it after, which is Tavore asking, what news of Felisin? Is Felisin dead? And they both say, yeah, she's dead. Meaning, you've literally just killed her, so yeah, she's dead. And then, did she have a painful death? And then one of them has to turn around and say, it was a quick death. Because that's all they can potentially say at that time. For the saving grace of both characters, really. You know, they don't want to hurt Tavore, but they've also just witnessed the death of Felisin at the hands of her own sister. So how do you go about saying that? So they have to sort of be honest, but honesty with caution. So Tavore doesn't crumble, presumably in front of all the soldiers, and she gets to have this moment where, yes, she's an adjunct, a warrior. She's the right hand of the queen, you know, the battle enforcer of the queen, or the empress, I should say. And yeah, it was so well written by Stephen Erickson, the way he does that dialogue of Pearl, Lestora and Tavore. Just that, yes, the honesty's there, but with a hidden element to it of, we're not going to tell you right now what you've done. Kind of made that chapter. It made the entire book, really. There was so much more in Memories of Ice that I enjoyed. There were bits and pieces in House of Chains that I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy House of Chains as much as I did Memories of Ice. But I'll save that, I think, for a recap video. So just going through chapter 5, really. We've still got the song. The song is still very, very prominent. And what we find out is that it's obviously the song for the bridge burners. But it's the song that came about from the death of the bridge burners. The original bridge burners that died. It's a song that was written of their story. Or it was written as a story and it's turned into a song, but it's not finished. So it's taken the death of more bridge burners to finish it. And we also know on this battlefield that the spirits of the Rahavia, or the Rariku, are being reawoken. And that's also includes spirits that were battling in the Panion Domin fight. Those bridge burners that died there come back to fight in this battle, or at least that's how I understand it. But they've ascended. The bridge burners have ascended. There couldn't be a more, in my opinion, I am very sort of one-sided in this opinion. There couldn't be a more worthy group of people to ascend, in my opinion, other than the bridge burners. So that's all going on. Then we've got Leoman, who needs to go back to Shartik. On his way back, he's attacked with arrows, losing his horse, but he does actually manage to get back to Shartik. But along his way, he meets back up with Karsa, and it's Karsa and Leoman and Lorik. Now, Lorik is still showing his kind of, I don't know whether I'd call it loyalty, but his concerns for, I think, more Felasin than Shartik. I think his concerns are more for the woman who is Felasin, and he feels this need to help constantly, and he knows where to go to find Felasin, and she's on the hill. But the problem is, he's trying to get there, but because she's wearing her armour and he's ready to go to fight, it is too late. And this is right prior to the scene before we have Tavor kill Shartik. But Lorik's intention is to get there and offer himself in replacement of Shartik. He's offering his body as the vessel for the goddess. But he realises she's taken, it's too late now, she's wearing the armour. She's about to go in there and fight. So he opens his warren and leaves, basically. Leaving Karsa and Leoman, the only two again, as we started the journey with Shartik, ending the journey with Shartik. It doesn't say that they walk onto the battlefield with her, but I imagine they're not far away. So we end as we started with those two characters. Other things in between, such as we find out that somebody broke the chains of the Deragoth. Is that possibly Osric? Because when we go with Lorik to this dream world that is in all this memory, and Osric, his father, is there, there are hounds there. There are Deragoth hounds there. Does he release them? Is it Osric who releases them into, into this world? Is that Osric who does that? Who calls them there? I'm not sure. It kind of leaves that open-ended, so I'm not too sure there. And Karsa, in the meantime, is doing a lot of slaughtering. He's getting rid of a lot of people. We've got Grey Frog, which is Losric's new demon, and he goes to fetch Haboric because he's concerned about Lorik, whether he's well enough, and he's also concerned about Felasin. So he fetches Haboric, and at the time when he gets to Lorik is reading the Deck of Dragons, and he sees the hounds and Karsa, and how Karsa has killed one hound and is in pursuit of another. But this is before Lorik decides to go to speak to Shartik. He now knows what he can do to prevent this from turning really bad. It's just really sad that it doesn't get there in time. What he would have done, I'm not too sure. What would have come about him taking Felasin's place, I'm not entirely sure how that would have panned out. But we end that chapter really with that circumstance of Lorik getting there and realising it's too late and he has to go. And like I've said, in chapter 26, we start with Shartik, Felasin, reflecting back on her childhood and how, things have changed and what's become of her, that the goddess who's inside her is actually feared and is hiding now within her. But at the same time, all this time has been destroying and trying to consume her. And Felasin's been hoping all this time to be released one day. But she feels like that's not going to happen. But it does. But right at the end, right before Felasin dies, that happens. So, yeah, through this chapter, it's literally just Lorik, Leoman, Karsa. They go to approach Shartik because she's on her hill. When they get there, she's in her armour. It's too late. Lorik opens his warren, he goes through. But we find out a little bit of a backstory about the goddess. And the impression I got from that was that she is a scorned lover. She lost her love, and that's where all her chaos is coming from. Because we know the crippled god is feeding from chaos, and he's searching for people to bring to him who have this sort of revenge, this kind of venomous streak, this kind of hatred of things. And we know he's influencing the goddess. We know the crippled god is behind that. So is that because of this scorned lover type story? I have a feeling, and I could be wrong here, so correct me if I'm wrong. I have a feeling maybe we've already heard something about this, about a scorned lover and something to do with the loss of a child. Or maybe I'm just imagining that, I'm not sure, but I felt reading that like this kind of rang a bell, like this was kind of familiar. So I'm not sure whether I'm right or wrong there, but that's the situation there, is that she lost her love. And I just feel like that's something we've already read. So let me know in the comments whether I'm right or wrong there. And then I also got this wrong as well. I didn't realise that when Gamut was on the battlefield, the female officer or soldier who approached him, I didn't click that that was a spirit. I completely missed that. Did not click that that was a spirit. So Gamut is dead. Gamut has died on the battlefield, and he has joined the spirits. And the woman who approached him was a spirit to take him with her, to forever be with the soldiers now, like he's always wanted. You know, he was in this kind of mindset of wasn't sure who he was, couldn't have an identity, lost his identity. Had always been a soldier of some description, or at least a protector of a noble house, i.e. the Parran house. And of late, he's lost himself. Being a commander isn't what he was used to. That wasn't his role. So he's been a lost soul, really. And now he's back where he belongs. And sadly, he's found himself when he dies. And yeah, there's very sort of thought-provoking literature within these few chapters. It's very thought-provoking and makes you sort of question you know, why people have done what they've done, or could they have done something different to prevent the outcome. So the goddess too, like Casa, we find out, is chained to the souls of those that she's killed. We find that out. So same as Casa, who's dragging these either actual chains, you know, spiritual chains, metaphorical chains, whether they just be in his subconscious and it's his own guilt that he's dragging of the people that he's killed. The goddess has something similar. She has these spirits, and the assassins of Cabal Dom don't stand a chance, because, well, basically nobody stands a chance to win against Shartik, or the goddess, I should say, because, you know, they're just going to be destroyed, except for what seems to be Tavor. She doesn't seem to have had it in her to take out Tavor, whether that's just to do with the Otateral sword, or whether that's the spirit that's within Tavor, which isn't this chaotic sort of necessarily vengeful spirit. It's more of a dutiful, potentially a light spirit, because we're talking about shadow and light in this House of Chains, and everything's to do with the darkness and the light and the shadow. And maybe Tavor is considered the light for the Malazan Empire. So that's the fear from the goddess, is she's a darkness or she's a shadow, and Tavor being the light means that the goddess feels that she wouldn't be able to win. I'm not sure. That's my thinking behind it. And we have this conversation with Lorik and Shartik, or the goddess. And the goddess, basically, she cries out about my child. I stole her from the bitch. Now, who is she talking about there? It doesn't specify. Is she talking about Felisin? Is she talking about the actual child who's now called Felisin? Or does she mean somebody completely different? Maybe, again, I'm a bit lost and a bit missed on there, but I don't particularly know who she means as the child. This is what I mean with this story of her losing a love and this child. Did she lose a child from her love? And so she's taken a child to replace that. I'm not sure. I'm kind of a little bit... I have my thoughts, but I'm not sure where they lie within that, which is right and which is wrong. And then, the penultimate scene. There was more after it, and there's, a little bit of other story, but I think the most predominant thing is what happens between Shartik, Felisin, and Tavor, and what Pearl does. Pearl, even though he's an assassin, feels this, I suppose, maybe not loyalty, but feels like he has to honour Felisin, and he opens his warren and takes Felisin's body before anybody else can get their hands on her and treat her the way that they would want to, because she's been the enemy for quite some time now. So he removes her before they have a chance to do that, and Lysora is in complete compliance with this. She wants this to happen. She wants Felisin saved, because the grief she feels in herself for this particular situation of, family killing family, and they've all just only recently found out that Perrin is still alive. It's such a sad and sorry state of affairs of how that's panned out. And I know it's only fantasy, but it does make you reflect on it from a real perspective of, well, what would you do in that situation? If you suddenly were fighting to save your people, but the person who you've got to kill is your loved one. What a position to be in. And you don't know that's your loved one. Nobody's told you. You've been waiting for the assassin and the red blade that you've sent out to come back with information for you, but it's too late when they arrive. You've already done what had to be done. In your eyes, what had to be done. So it's just too late. It was really sad. Really, really sad. Let me see if I wrote something else. Yeah, so Pearl takes the body. Oh, and then we go on to have the reuniting of Fiddler and Quick Ben and Callum, and that's superb because they've been separated for quite some time now, so it's nice for them guys to be back together. But obviously there's now this news that Quick Ben's got to share with them both that they don't know about Whiskey Jack and all the other guys, and how they're potentially on that field. Whiskey Jack doesn't get mentioned. They do say that the bridge burners have ascended, but Whiskey Jack's name doesn't get mentioned. One who does get mentioned, because Fiddler finds himself in a bit of a situation where if he doesn't have the help, he could have potentially died in this time, and it's Hedge. And if my memory serves me correctly, which it does let me down because of fibro fog, but if memory serves me correctly, Hedge was with the guys at the Panium Domain War. So I think Hedge died. I think he was in Rake's Moonspawn when he died. Yeah, he was. He was in there with the other guys, such as I can't remember the names now. Picker and Blend. He was in there with those guys, and I'm pretty certain he died in Moonspawn. But now he's here and he's saved Fiddler. I thought that was really nice touch. I actually did think it was Whiskey Jack. I really did think it was Whiskey Jack, but no, it's Hedge. So that's all good. And we get some wrap-ups to stories. So we've got Sin. She gets her revenge. If you remember Sin, that was somebody who Callum met. She gets her revenge on Fael, which was Hebolo Dom's mage. And Fael had Sin as her apprentice. And Fael killed all of Sin's family. So she was plotting to get to Fael, and she gets her chance. So she gets her revenge for her parents. Then the way it penultimately ends is that the sea is enveloping the oasis of Raraku where they're fighting. The sea is actually coming in to drown it out, to sort of cover it as water. I believe that's what it once was, but over time it's dried out and become an oasis. And now the sea's coming back into there because obviously its past is done with. It's been wrapped up. Bridge burner blood is there again. So the song's ended, the story's finished with. Or at least that's how I interpret it. I may well be wrong, but that's how I interpret it. Hiboric Felasin and Scylla meet with Pust. And Pust is tasked now with protecting Felasin the younger. So Cutler is a little bit, do I want to do this, do I not? But he knows that Apsalar knows that she loves him. He loves her, sorry. He knows that Apsalar knows that he loves her. So, yes, he will protect Felasin. He would rather, I think, have an obligation than spend the rest of his days worrying where Apsalar is, or even searching and looking for her when maybe she doesn't want to be found. Maybe what she's off to go and do, Cotillion shouldn't, not Cotillion, Cutter shouldn't be with her. So, yeah, that's a nice little wrap up there to find out where Cutter's going to be in the future, which is guarding young Felasin. So it's clear to me that she has got some role in future books. And then we have Karsa, who talks to Sabal. And I thought this was quite nice as well. So he's still got Sabal's half in his bag. And he's sat on a cliff edge and he's talking to her. And he's explaining that, you know, from the young age that he left Teblor, he wanted the glory. He wanted to go back to Teblor and tell them that he was the best, he was the mightiest, he was the utmost warrior, Teblor warrior that there ever was ever in Istra, and fight for their pride again as a race of people, as a clan. He wanted to get their pride again, and he's explaining this to Sabal, and he's saying, I don't want that anymore. I don't want the glory. There's nothing in glory, but there is something to be had in Mercer. There is something to be said for Mercer. And he asks Sabal if her being returned to the sea will free her, and she says yes. And he does just that. He sends her back to the sea. Which I thought was beautiful for this, what was once a bloodthirsty, horrendous boy-child. So, yeah, for what was once a boy-child on this mission to destroy, has changed his whole mindset and now wants nothing to do with the cripple god. And I hope he sticks to that. I hope that is the case. Wants nothing to do with the cripple god as his first sword. Doesn't want that position. He's not that person anymore. And clearly has a set of morals where he has mercy now for people. And I like that. I like that change in Karsa. Now, this I wasn't sure about. Have we heard of Manila before? This is the woman who's on the throne, who Onrak and Trull are with currently. This is who's on this throne. And Onrak hears of Kalatha's death. And Trull is the one who actually cries for him. And there's mention of surrender the heart, the ritual of Talan. But Kalatha didn't partake in the ritual of Talan. So she's not this living dead type thing. She's still as they were. But it's apparently she's dead. I don't remember her dying. I actually don't remember Kalatha dying. I remember her leaving Tool, because Tool and the other Talanimas that was found with Lady Enver went through the Warren, but I don't remember Kalatha dying. Maybe she did, but I don't remember it. So that was practically the end of House of Chains. But I think the thing that got me most was the situation between Shartik and Tavor. And I think if any of you who've read it, that too would have got you. Is that such sad circumstance of a sister killing a sister, and she doesn't even know it. And she's still yet to find that out. That's beyond compare to me. Beyond compare. And then just a little quick, I read the little sneaky peek that you get at Midnight Tides. And we're going to the beginning by the looks of it. It's 11:33. We're going right back. This is all sort of 11:44, 11:59, 11:60 something in all the times of the books that we've already read, if memory serves me correctly. So this is like 11:33, and we're talking of a Tista Joe called Scabandan, who is a soul taken, and he kills his brother, who is T Standy, but they are brothers because they're from Mother Darkness, and she had three children, if you remember. So this Tista Jaw kills his T Standy brother, Silchas Ruin, or Silchas Ruin, however you say his name, basically so he can rule the gate of Curled Emerlian, or Emerlin. I'm not sure how you say that, but Emerlin. So that's interesting. We're going back to those starting points. And it also says that he just needs to find Rake. And then we meet Withel, who is a sword maker. And somebody is speaking to Withel. It doesn't say who, but they want Withel's services. And that's kind of where that little sneaky peek ends. I have a feeling that that is Draconis, the god. And this is the making of the Dragnipur sword, but I could be wrong. So that's it. We're done for House of Chains now, and we're done for me. I have enjoyed both Midnight Tides and House of Chains. Midnight Tides, Memories of Ice and House of Chains, because Midnight Tides is right there. I've enjoyed Memories of Ice and House of Chains. I have to say, Memories of Ice I preferred by a smidge. I preferred it because we go back to a hell of a lot of the original Garden of the Moon characters, and we're going from their stories on. And even though I'm not one for battle, those battle scenes weren't the same. They weren't as intense as the ones in Deadhouse Gates. I found those very intense and very sort of descriptionary of how the scenes are actually being played out. So it's hard for me to follow along with, you know, the swiping of the swords and the holding of the shields and this kind of attack and that kind of attack. I find that very difficult to read. I didn't struggle anywhere near as much with Memories of Ice. I found the battle scenes far more interesting, far less explained, and just purely off the explanations we got, I was able to visualise the scene. I didn't need as much content as you do get in Deadhouse Gates. Now, I know that's, you know, contrary to popular opinion, but that's my opinion. That's how I feel about them. The ending of both have been epic. And the deaths in both have been quite moving and quite sad. I found the deaths hit me more in Memories of Ice than they did in House of Chains. I felt like I lost more meaningful characters in Memories of Ice. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I will potentially do another video where I talk more of my thoughts between the two, but I've kind of more or less done it there. But I may go, or at least try to go into more detail. I'll see what I've got left for time-wise, but if I don't, I will put it into this video that my book for the month of May, just by a smidgen of a fraction, because of how emotionally it got me. Not anything to do with the storylines, not anything to do with sort of characters, just the emotional impact it had on me would be Memories of Ice. Maybe because I'm a mum and a lot of the ethos in the book was about motherhood and, you know, the maternal instinct, and I did find it was swayed more for family. For my interpretation of it, I found it was more family orientated, because you've got bonds between friends being tested or made or created, or so I found it was very, very kin family, that kind of feel to it. So yeah, I really liked Memories of Ice, but I also liked House of Chains. So, and I am looking forward to reading Midnight Tides. I just by a fraction, because of the whole fight with the Panny and Domin and all the different elements, you know, all the different other people like Brood and Rake, all those different people Calor I absolutely detest and hate. Can't stand Calor. And I can't wait for him to get some sort of comeuppance. But just all these, the armies of the liberation coming together, even though at some point they've all disagreed, but they come together to face this one foe, and the different things happening to everybody else was very, very reminiscent of Gardens of the Moon, and it had that same drive and that same energy and same... The book never relented. There was always something happening to a new character. There was never a pause or a boring moment or a relent in any chapter where you were like, oh, I could have done without that storyline, or oh, that storyline didn't really do it for me. It was just as good as Gardens of the Moon, in my opinion. Is it better? I will need time to think on that, because I just need time to think on that. I'm not sure. But it definitely, for now, is there with Gardens of the Moon. So if I don't get the opportunity to do a roundup for this month, and maybe, I might do it in the future, but for me, just by a fraction, it's Memories of Ice for me. But House of Chains is just as good. It's a different take. It's much more focused on characters for a longer period of time, which I also like that style. I enjoy that style of writing from Stephen Erickson. He's good at both. He's good at bombarding you with characters and having separate sidelines of stories going off all over. But he's also good at taking you through in full-on chapters of one character and following their story for a little while and then going to somebody else. So it's the same kind of thing, but just more emphasis put on that one person, and you're learning more throughout a longer period. So I like both. I like both ways. But I do think I have a slight preference for the chaos, the chaotic. Now we're with, say for instance, Fiddler, now we're with Quick Ben, now we're with this person, now we're with Whiskey Jack, and now we're with Anamanda Rake. I like that jumping around. But the story so far is really enjoyable, and it's really beautiful, and now you feel like you've got this real tie with the characters. And you're also very sad that you've lost characters that you've grown a tie with. So it's been great. But I am going to leave it for June. Give myself a little bit of a break, a little Malazan break. And I'm going to jump back into Midnight Tides in July. My thought process, I'm potentially going to take a week out of July and commit that just to Midnight Tides, like I have been doing in May, where I've been doing the daily vlogs. I think I'll do the same for a solid week in July, and do maybe that every month, every other month, following on with the rest of Malazan. I think I'm going to do it that way. So I also want to just say to everybody, and there's been a lot, I've been really sort of surprised at the amount of views, especially Memories of Ice has had. My very first Memories of Ice video has had 175 views, and I'm quite taken aback by that. Didn't think it was going to get that much interest. So I just wanted to say to everybody who has watched and everybody who has liked and potentially maybe even enjoyed these vlogs, thank you so much for your encouragement, for your participation, for just being there really, and not leaving me to be talking to no one. I appreciate that, and I feel like I'm part of the Malazan crew now. I feel like I can actually hold my hand up and say, oh, I know about Malazan. I've at least read 4 out of the 10. So, yeah, thank you to you all for all the likes, all the views. Continue to watch, continue to share, tell your friends if they like Malazan. Share the content. Maybe they'll enjoy it too. But yeah, it's been a journey. May's been a journey. It's surprising to me that I've read 2 books in a month. I really did think I was going to read more, but I've really given them some time and attention, and really analysed what's being said, what Stephen Erickson trying to get me to guess at, and I've enjoyed doing it that way. I should have done the first 2 that way. I think I would have got more out of them had I done them that way. But you live and learn. So I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed me, and I've enjoyed your coming along with me on this journey. So thank you to everyone. that's it for today. I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of the bank holiday, and I will see you potentially Wednesday. Now we're back to the normal scheduling of 3 times a week, so it will be Wednesday when I post again. So I know I've said it, but thank you. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, give us a like. If you like the content and you want to see more of what I have to offer, then that little bell there, press that and you will be subscribed, and then it will give you notifications for all future videos, and you will also be able to see anything else that I've posted. And that's it. Thank you for the Malazan journey, and thank you for joining me, and thank you so far, Mr. Stephen Erickson, for your beautiful books. They're amazing. Okay, that's me. I'll leave you guys to the rest of your Monday. Thank you. Bye bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. We'll link somewhere here another video for you to watch. If you fancy that, please click on that. And as usual, thank you for all your support. Till next time. Bye bye.